Good morning. We have an embarrassment of riches today. We have two practitioners. We both thought we were on for today, so you get us both. Anyway, my name is Sara Gorham. My name is Sara Gorham, and I am a prayer practitioner here at Light in the Mountains, and I am delighted to see all of you, and all of you that I can't see, I'm delighted to have you here. And at this point, I would like to invite all of us to just take a moment and center ourselves in the fullness of spirit, to feel that presence within us, to feel it all around us, to know its peace and its presence, to know its expansion and its joy, and to know its deep connection, both from ourselves to that presence and to each other and all of life. And so from that place of deep grounding, and from that place of knowing that this presence fills this room and fills all those within it, I give thanks for this day, for this gathering and fellowship. I give thanks for this center and all who make it hum and run. And I give thanks for the presence of each and every person gathered here, whether present in this space or joining us in the ethers. I know us all in community, I know us all as connected, and I give deep thanks for all of this. And so together, we give our thanks and we say, and so it is. So we often hear it said that we are divine beings having a human experience, that we are a mashup of both a personality level self that identifies as our name and our history, and an infinite self that knows itself as eternal and inseparable from Source. These two aspects of us are like two occupants in a car on a road trip together, a car that is our embodied self and a road trip that is our life. The question is, who's driving? I think for most of us, for a good part of our unaware life, our personality self is definitely the one behind the wheel, blithely oblivious to the fact that sitting quietly in the back seat, there is another occupant in the car. This divine fellow traveler, though aware of every swerve and bend in the road, doesn't comment on our driving and is not inclined to offer unsolicited advice. Instead, our ever-present and divinely connected fellow occupant takes in the bumpy roads, the bad traffic, and the wrong turns with a bemused affection for the driver and an attentive appreciation for all the challenges, joys, and surprises of the journey. Speaking only for myself, slow learner that I am, it took a while for it to even dawn on me that I was not alone in the car. Just discovering that was a revelation. But really, what really expanded my road trip, that is to say my life, was realizing that I could engage with my companion, my divine better half in the back seat. When I invited her to speak up, I found she often had insightful observations to share, not to mention very good connections in high places, if you know what I mean. Eventually, it occurred to me to invite this higher self to join me in the front seat. I thought maybe she could help with the navigation, and she has. When our car would approach a crossroads, I might be inclined to use the same old maps to choose the way forward, but I found she could offer up insights gleaned from a higher knowing, from intuition and the wisdom of the long view, sometimes suggesting that that little side road might actually be more fruitful and interesting than the paved and obvious one straight ahead. But no matter what, she never insists. Apparently, free will is a thing where she comes from. So the decisions always go to the driver. From her perspective, there are no bad choices, just different experiences. She's calm like that. Eventually, I asked her if she'd like to do some driving so I could just be in the moment and enjoy the ride. That has been an excellent move, one that has transformed the journey. It is more like a buddy movie now, kind of like Thelma and Louise, but so far without the plunge off the cliff. These days, we take turns driving, and it's becoming less and less obvious which one of us is behind the wheel. Though, if I'm honest, if there is ever any road rage or any fretting about not being able to see around the bend, that would be me at the wheel. Then I know it's time to take a deep breath and trade drivers. So, if you ever find yourself on a lonely stretch of road, or a bumpy one, or one with a lot of ruts, you might want to check the back seat. I promise you, there's someone there. No one goes on this ride alone. And now, Anne.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ann Christensen, another licensed prayer practitioner at Light on the Mountains. And I have to say, my mood was totally different from Sara's when I found my reading yesterday. So if we could just have one moment of silence and just think through the word peace. After I read John's blog, that helped me with peace, but I had to find something more for myself. And so I went to Ernest Holmes, which means it's not the easiest reading, but it's wonderful stuff. And we have to remember that this is from way back in the 50s. So this is the essential Ernest Holmes, and we've had classes in that, and they're wonderful. So let's see, I start up here. Okay, we want peace. Then it has got to begin right where I am for me. I myself must believe in my own prayer. Quotes, when ye pray, believe that ye receive. You and I, as a group, must believe in our prayer. We so want peace on earth. Then let us pray for peace in our hearts. Let us affirm peace in our minds, our own minds. Let us live as though peace were the mandate of God, because it is. Together, let us affirm it, and let us encourage others too, no matter what the opposition appears to be. For it is a fundamental reality of God. Let us face the future without fear, but let us also face it intelligently as men and women who are not afraid of anything. Let us, you and me, pray for peace, and let us make our hearts fit to accept it when it comes. Let us make our intellect and our soul and our will and our feeling ready to receive it and embrace it even before it comes. Let us, in the stillness of our own soul, go back to that ineffable presence which is peace and proclaim it even in the midst of confusion, that peace which is the power at the heart of God. And that was it. I actually missed the first part of it, but I think you get it. So I have this book all scratched up. Okay, so now it's time for our affirmation, which is right here in red. And let's read it together. Spirit's life is my life now. This is true in all that I perceive as good, in all that I perceive as imperfect. Thank you. And now.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone at home. I feel extraordinarily hopeful this morning. And I'm going to tell you why. There are terrible things happening in the Ukraine, and yet the world is coming together. And I think this was truly personified for me. There's this like 1.5 minute video of a Ukrainian woman, and you can't see her face, and she almost, I don't know, assuming middle-age-ish to older. And it's winter there, of course, like here, and wearing kind of the hats that we wear, the little pom-pom, like you see on the ski slopes. And she is confronting a Russian soldier in her neighborhood. And she's, again, this woman just on her own with a little pom-pom, "Why are you here?" And he says, "This is going to get much worse for you if you don't step back." He says, "It doesn't get worse than this. You're in my neighborhood. Get out." But there's something, I think, an energy behind her that is saying, wait a second, we don't do this anymore. I love it when music cooperates. We always think when I say something important, shouldn't like the violin swell in the background or something? And there you go. I didn't even have to pay RL too much more extra to do that this morning. So yes, there are terrible things happening. People are losing their lives, but yet there is something going on of great importance that we need to pay attention to. And I brought something to show you that you can look later on. So I have a dinosaur box, as I call it, in my office of photo albums. You remember those? I don't think I've put a photo album together in 25 years once things started going digital. But this is a great photo album from 1988 from a trip that I took to the Soviet Union. And I was attending Cal State Northridge, and I was in the music department and part of a choir that was for music majors, and we did a 3-week performing tour throughout then Soviet Union. And we were in Estonia, of course in Russia, in Soviet Georgia, and we were in Kiev. And if you later on, I've got little Post-it notes here to mark the Kiev part, and you'll see a strangely 30-year-old version of me in here. I haven't aged a day, I have to say. I do need to wear glasses, so that may color my opinion. But the reason why I pulled this out is that when these world events happen, it's so easy not to see it on a personal level. And I just had to take a look at the people that befriended me and I befriended specifically in Kiev. And there's lots of backstories I'm not going to tell you this morning, but that were fun, that were like, and I think now, why did I do that in a Soviet country? But I did. But here's what I remember from the people at that time. So this was June of 1988, 2 weeks after President Reagan had made his historic trip to Moscow. And people were on a high because there was a sense of hope in the air. Like this way that we've been living doesn't have to be anymore. And particularly as we got out of, the Russian center, of Moscow and going like to Kiev, again, there was just this vibrancy on the streets of, it's going to end. We don't have to do this anymore. I mean, I can't even tell you, it was like everyone would, like they say if children are bad at the place, you give them a coffee and a puppy or something. It was like everyone had an espresso and a puppy. It's like, look at what's happening here. This is just amazing. So I've been holding that vision for the Ukrainians. And also remembering that when I graduated from School of Ministry, we're going ahead a couple more chapters, and in 2000, one of my schoolmates who I graduated with, Reverend Barbara Leger, started ministries in Ukraine. There still is one now, it's south of Kyiv, and it's officially what we call a teaching chapter, because I get a little nervous about faith communities there. And as she has shared with me through the years, the great joys and challenges of teaching what we call science of mind or new thought philosophy, that people were going there determined to get rid of this old Soviet way of thinking that they were raised with, which was one of limitation, take what you can get, so to speak, and just this excitement of, and not just on a physical level or things that you have that, oh, we can collectively and individually make this different. And so that teaching chapter is still doing its work. Reverend Barbara, because of visa issues, comes and goes. She's only allowed to be there, but of course, with the miracles of Zoom, she is right there with her students and people who run that center when she is not there. So there is this hunger and desire for change. And I believe that they are living it. And we can support that in ways that you may not have figured out. Because it can feel so frustrating. What can I do? I mean, it really isn't. What can I do? And most of what we can do is our work in consciousness. And that's really not like well, I can't do anything, so I'll just be quiet over here. No, it is something significant that we can do. That, again, there is this upswell of energy right now of, you gotta be kidding. This is like World War II era kind of stuff. We don't do that anymore. And so again, that a middle-aged woman with a pom-pom would, go to a Russian soldier and say, get out of here, not on my street, this isn't gonna happen. And so I think there was this belief that there would be the opposite reaction of, okay, here, come on in, there's nothing we can do, sort of thing. But it is this power in consciousness that is directing what is happening right now. So, a few things I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the qualities of fear, how we get to faith and how we completely redefine that, and what is that pathway between the two. And spoiler alert, it's prayer, but maybe not in the way you think. So let's talk about fear. Fear can be a good thing. If in the last month, in fact, I would guarantee that a good critical mass of us during this winter, it doesn't have to be winter, as we are going down the highway, you, in a flash moment of really fear, saw something like a big elk in front of you. And you didn't say, I should call my friends and ask what I should do about this. Your whole body chemistry changed, and in a sense you were on a level of fear that put you on hyper alert that told you how to get out of this mess, and not hopefully how to hit the deer. Sometimes we do hit the deer. But most of the time, it's either you put on the brakes or you get out of the way in some way, and of course, if you're like me, then you pull over and go, I can't believe I almost hit the deer. But for those few moments, you are in this heightened state of awareness that fear brought you to, that anything that wasn't going to work wasn't even considered, and you just got down to business. So that is the good aspect of fear, that it puts you in the present moment and puts you on alert and says something needs to be done now, and it takes you to a place where there's not even a conscious thought process. Have you noticed that? It's just like, got to get out of it. Where you may have heard different news things of 90-year-old woman takes car off a grandchild. She didn't say, gee, have I worked out recently? Could I save my grandchild? It was like, no, get here. It was like, then you fall apart again. It's like, I can't believe I just did that. So fear is a positive in that way. Where it goes south, as they say, is that instead of being something that can release energy, it becomes something that retracts our energy, where we become paralyzed by it. So when we usually talk about the negativities of fear, it is in those types of moments, or where it becomes a lifestyle, where we kind of go down this funnel of fewer and fewer opportunities that we can see, or that we allow ourselves to see. And we've all been there, haven't we? That a certain life conditions, whether it's financial or relationship or in your career, where we will say, I have no choice. or I have no good choices, and we find ourselves doing something or entertaining doing something that maybe an earlier part of our life we can't even imagine ourselves having done. Or specifically, sometimes I think financials are a good way to look at that. If you've really been in a terrible moment going, I have no options. Haven't you done that before? Somewhere, whether anywhere, like, God, I have no options. And it's an energy that collapses upon itself, that I believe, in that state of consciousness, we just can't make a good decision to save our life, really, because we see ourselves as fewer and fewer options. And so the question is, how do we dig out of that? And certainly there is this subterranean part of what's going on in the world now where there is an alternate version of, well, there's just no choices but bad choices. This, of course, will have to end really badly in the long run. And we all have those moments, especially this week, of like, another news thing of, about something about the war, and it's like, this isn't going to end well. It's just going to be terrible. So it's easy to be pulled into that, but to have the consciousness to pull ourselves back the other way. A first step that I have found for me when I am in those not only moments, but portions of my life, and I'm look way back to a portion of my life that everything just fell apart, and I came upon something in spite of myself that was positive. I really figured out, and this was like 18 or 19, that what I am experiencing isn't me. It's just what I'm experiencing. And I think the bad thing about fear is when we suddenly take that and embody it and believe that thing that we're experiencing is us, or a reflection of who we are, or to say that, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm so unworthy, or I'm so this, or I'm so that this is what I've drawn to myself, and it doesn't matter what decisions I make at this point because I bring that dark self with me. But somehow I figured out that what I was experiencing wasn't me. And at that time, there was a lot that needed to be dug out of that hole I was in. But the great thing is that I didn't go there thinking that that was me. So that's where you first start. And you start that, we call a road to taking it, being stuck in the negative aspect of fear, to faith. But let's look at faith differently. I don't know how you were raised to believe about faith. I was raised to believe in as I call the Federal Express God. Put in your order, and if you fill out the form correctly, you'll get what you want. But you have to be worthy, and you have to follow the rules. And it's a very capricious sort of guy up there on a cloud that even if you think you've been at your best behavior, sometimes you just might not get it. And it's funny how children's minds worked in going to religious school. I kind of imagined there being like this prayer request desk up in heaven with the angels there going, okay, we'll send this one on. No. This him again? No. Okay, we'll send this one on. He's pretty worthy. He helped an old lady across the street the other day. So we'll move this one forward, This is how my mind worked as I was sitting in Catholic school. Because we had religion every morning from 8 to 8:45 for 8 years. So my mind had to do something to create in it. But anyway, so often our feeling, whether you consciously believe it or not, many of us were raised with that kind of idea that somehow we had to be worthy and we had to have this blind belief in something outside of ourselves for any hope of a prayer to be answered. And again, I thought of prayer, remember those old things, those vacuum suction things, you put in the little thing and you I came up with that, I think, in third grade, putting my little prayer, going up for approval or disapproval, whatever the case may be. Here is a different way to look at faith. It's not a looking at something outside of yourself to hope that will notice you and take your request and create it for you. Faith is an understanding that there are spiritual laws in the universe that work for everyone. And that as I embody myself in these spiritual laws and principles, that I can, through the shifting of my consciousness, make my life work better, as well as together to collectively make our experience work better. And as Ernest Holmes says, there is a power in the universe for good, and I can use it. So it is a power and a presence and a creative process that we can be part of and consciously direct. And again, it doesn't mean that you now, oh good, I get every single thing I want. No, you don't. Sorry about that. But my faith is that the central, core idea of that, I can always get. That I'm always looking for creating more wholeness in my life, more love in my life, a more sense of peace in my life. The big item things, those you can always create. The way they show up, it's kind of a mystery still. And I can't really give you a 10-point way of doing that. Go for the big ones. That's where the faith is. And so as we are in this world together and looking at conditions in the world, specifically in the Ukraine and in Russia, it is time to go on that bridge to create the big ticket items. And we do that through, again, a completely different concept than you were raised with, through the power of prayer. Again, we think the power of the prayer is like, okay, who do I pray to? Okay, who's going to take my order? Of course, growing up Catholic, you have this whole system of saints and things. He's in charge of this, and she's in charge of the others. Like, who do you pray to? You don't pray to anybody, in a sense. Prayer is a movement of consciousness to elevate your belief and participation in a different way. Prayer is designed to change you, not everything else. So as I often tell people that will come to me in great personal pain in their families or their work, say, can we just pray for this person to do this? My answer is, can't really. It's not like it's against the rules. It just will be a waste of our time. But we can pray for you, and how you show up in the situation and how you show up differently may change the whole world of that situation. That's how prayer changes the world. But here's the other great thing with this. Prayer is a group experience, whether you believe it or not. The reason why I feel so hopeful this morning is that whether people are consciously praying or just putting their belief in something else happening, we are collectively doing prayer right now in the belief in a different way as possible. I grew up with a great saying, and if you grew up in a Christian faith community, you will remember this, said, if two or more are gathered, the presence of the Christ is there. What that means is simply this. So it doesn't mean if you pray alone, there's no presence of the divine. What it means is that 1 + 1 does not equal 2. 1 + 1 is actually unlimited, meaning that there is a great consciousness and exponential creation of positive energy as we consciously come together. So if, the 20 so of us here today, all on the same page of peace in the Ukraine, is more powerful than 20 of us as individuals feeling disconnected from everyone else. There is a collective energy that we can create not only here, but to, as you are in prayer, imagine or visualize the world in prayer, and it is in prayer right now, that you are hitching your cart to, as they say. So you're not in your room even alone. There is this larger prayer that is happening that you can be a part of and choose to do that. Whereas Holmes says that intentional thought is more power than unintentional thought. So what we are working with in prayer is intentional thought, meaning it has a purpose, and it has a purpose for good, for not just you and your family, but for the world. And that is so much more powerful that it doesn't even have to have 51% to be there to create amazing things. It's amazing how small of a number of people is needed to create positive change if we are all on the board with intentional thought towards a certain end. So that is our big invitation right now, to be part of a larger intentional thought. And also, I love the word invitation. So your prayer, as we are seeking to shift the world, and even hoping that our friends who may be in trouble would make some changes, prayer is an invitation. It's an invitation to grow in consciousness. So again, I can't change any of you through my prayer, but we are all connected energetically, and through my prayer I can say, here's another possibility. I can't change you, but in your connection, you can start to get that feeling that you have a different option. That if you were that person at that time stuck in fear, that invitation from your family and friends and consciousness might have you open up to say, okay, I really can do something different. Again, it's all freedom of choice and individually, but we can make an invitation of change. And I think that's what we are doing right now as a collective world. We are giving an invitation to change. That's why I just love that woman with that pom-pom. Not in my neighborhood, you don't. I mean, I just love that. Could you ever think of yourself going up to a soldier with a pom-pom and just get out of here already? I mean, I was assuming that you maybe went home and went, oh, what was I thinking? I mean, really, it's not till afterwards but we get swelled up in this positive action and doing things that we may thought ourselves of not being able to do as before. So again, the thing that I am so noticing today, and again, it is a tragedy with the in Ukraine, but at the same time, it's so out of place. It just seems so wrong, but in a different way, like, didn't you check the calendar for what year it is? We don't do this anymore, kind of thing. It's like, I was talking to a friend the other day, said it's kind of like, well, do you remember, maybe you didn't do this. In your 20s, you would go to all-night clubs, and there'd be last call at 2, and the lights went on, and you went, oh, that's not what I thought it would have looked like. But there's almost this feeling of last call, like, what? Why do we do that? Why are we doing this? So as I've really said much in the last 3 or 4 years, we are in a time of accelerated cultural and political change. And it's messy, and it's frustrating, and people are acting badly in public. But there is this sense of this older stuff that is last call kind of stuff. It really is last call. Why are we even considering this? Why are we doing these things right now? Why are we fighting about these sort of things? It's so out of place and out of character for where we are right now, or where we're seeking to be right now. So if you want to know what you can do, not just with Ukraine, but with anything else in the world, is to see your prayer as an invitation. Know that others are with you in consciousness. So again, you're not just alone in your meditation part of your house or where you do spiritual practice, that there is this upswell of intentional thought that you can join. And allow yourself just to feel that. That's why I just feel so great today. There is this amazing upswell of saying, let's do this differently. I received a great email. I want to close with some parts from today from Reverend Beth Liguri. She is a Center Spiritual Living minister in in Switzerland. And she actually has a similar or the same volunteer position I have in Center of Spiritual Living as a regional support coordinator. And the ministry she keeps track of or mentors are all the ones in Europe and other parts of the world. So she's just getting little pieces from all over the place. I sent a great thing here, and she sent, this is a paraphrase from something Ernest Holmes wrote called How to Create a Spiritual Chain Reaction. She says, we can create a spiritual chain reaction which can bring peace in the midst of chaos. Just as there is an energy caught from the universe and locked in the physical atom that can be loosed and cause a chain reaction, so there is a spiritual energy caught in every person's mind and locked up in the individual life waiting to be used. We can use the spiritual power that is within us to heal, to bless, and to bring peace to that place where there is an illusion of chaos. We know that this power is good. It is a power of life, love, truth, beauty, and peace. It is not only a power, it is the final power in the universe. It is present everywhere and in all people. And then she went on to say, let us unite in the focusing of that power to bring peace to the Ukraine by the creation of a spiritual chain reaction. We can sit in the quiet of our own being and consciously direct a power greater than we are for the definite purpose of creating peace. We can practice this individually, and we can join together in small groups daily, regularly, as each focuses their heart energy of peace, love, and harmony. We can start a chain reaction to release this power that will support our precious ones in the Ukraine and in Russia right now. And if it helps you, imagine you're that woman with the puffy thing, saying, not here, not on my street, not now, not ever. So let's just take this within. And so kind of join me in reminiscing about the acquaintances I made in Kyiv. So hopeful and excited about the possibilities of life. People who were literally seeing the metaphorical chains they had, chains that they felt bound with, just fall away. Let's just know and feel that sense of elation and freedom that not only existed then, but is here right now. In all the negatives that we view and hear of, know that that positive is the intentional thought that we are confirming and allowing to expand and grow. That it is, regardless of current circumstances, the truth. And we, through our intentional thought, keep repeating that truth and knowing that truth and allowing that truth, not only for those in Ukraine, but everywhere. It's the truth of all things. That all things actually are possible. That we are present in this moment and allow it to take root. And as we are in this room together this morning, we know that we are connecting our hearts and our energy not just with each other, but with billions of people with the same thought. Just think of that. Billions of people with the same directed thought and intention. Let us feel that energy and that power. That it is unthinkable for anything else to be so. So we simply give thanks for this. And we joyfully and with great expectation release this intentional thought into the universe, knowing that as we do so, it happens. It is so, and it is now. And so it is.